9 people have been killed in 2 Israeli airstrikes on Gaza City.
Donald Trump welcomed Germany's new leader Friedrich Merz to the White House for talks on Ukraine, trade and bolstering military spending.
The European Central Bank has cut its benchmark interest rate for the 8th time as Trump's trade war threatens to slow economic growth.
A California tribe has regained some of its ancestral land as part of the state's largest land bank project.
US President Donald Trump welcomed Germany's new leader Friedrich Merz to the White House for talks on Ukraine, trade and bolstering military spending. Trump and Merz have spoken several times by phone, either bilaterally or with other European leaders. But the visit is the first time they met face to face. The US president said both leaders feel Russia's full-scale invasion of Ukraine is very sad, with Merz emphasizing that Germany was on the side of Ukraine.
And so we are talking about instruments, measures, what we can do, and my personal view is clear on that. We are on the side of Ukraine, and we are trying to get them stronger and stronger just to make Putin stop this war. And this is our approach.
Merz also highlighted Germany's commitment to NATO after the government locked in billions of euros in defence spending. Trump welcomed the increase, although suggested he would eventually cap Germany's efforts to rearm Ukraine. Relations between Germany and the US have grown frosty, particularly after the Trump administration accused Europe of freeloading regarding NATO defence spending.
2 Israeli airstrikes on Gaza City have left 9 people dead, including a woman and a child. One strike hit a busy street crowded with pedestrians, including some who had been out buying flour nearby.
ناس ماشية خال وجايبة طحين طحين ولادنا طحين بس مش أكثر طحين بتقطع وزي هيك هاي اللحم شايفين.
Bodies were taken to Shifa Hospital, where family members gathered in grief for their loved ones. The strikes took place on the day of Arafat in Gaza, an Islamic holiday marking the second day of the Hajj pilgrimage and just before the festival of Eid.
At least 5 people, including a 1-year-old child, have been killed in a Russian drone attack on the northern Ukrainian city of Pryluki, say local officials. 6 drones hit a residential area in the city shortly before dawn on Thursday, injuring 9 others. 17 people were also wounded in Russian strikes on the eastern Ukrainian city of Kharkiv. The attacks come after President Vladimir Putin spoke on the phone with US President Donald Trump, saying Moscow will retaliate for Ukraine's drone attacks on Russian military airfields on Sunday. The United States' efforts to stop the more than 3-year-long war have so far delivered no significant progress. The European Central Bank has cut its key deposit rate by 25 basis points to 2%, its lowest level in more than 2 years. It says it's aiming to support businesses and consumers with more affordable borrowing, as US President Donald Trump's trade war threatens to slow already tepid growth. The bank's president, Christine Lagarde, warned that, quote, a further escalation of trade tensions over the coming months would result in growth and inflation being below the baseline projections. The deposit facility is the interest rate banks receive when they deposit money with the central bank overnight.
New Zealand's parliament suspended 3 lawmakers who performed a Maori haka to protest a proposed law. The 3 performed the haka in Parliament in opposition of the widely unpopular and since defeated Treaty Principles Bill, which they say would reverse Indigenous rights. It sought to legally define the principles of the 1840 Treaty of Waitangi, signed between Maori leaders and the British Crown during New Zealand's colonisation.
U.S. President Donald Trump is resurrecting a travel ban policy from his first term, signing a proclamation that prevents people from a dozen countries from entering the United States. He linked the ban to a recent terror attack in Boulder, Colorado.
In the 21st century, we've seen one terror attack after another carried out by foreign visa overstayers from dangerous places all over the world. And thanks to Biden's open door policies, today there are millions and millions of these illegals who should not be in our country. In my first term, my powerful travel restrictions were one of our most successful policies, and they were a key part of preventing major foreign terror attacks on American soil.
Some, but not all 12 countries also appeared on the list of banned countries in Trump's first term. In 2017, Trump issued an executive order banning travel to the U.S. by citizens of 7 predominantly Muslim countries. While that was one of the most chaotic and confusing moments of his young presidency, he appears to be on firmer ground this time after the Supreme Court sided with him in 2018.
A tribe in California has regained ancestral territory as part of the largest land-back conservation project in the state's history. The Yurok tribe has reacquired roughly 189 square kilometres of forest land along the Klamath River, more than doubling its land holdings in northwestern California.
Reacquiring landscapes like this allows us to heal, to work towards healing a wound that was inflicted not only on the lands but our hearts when these lands were taken away from us.
The Yurok will manage the land using traditional practices like controlled burns, prairie restoration and invasive species removal to support wildlife and create jobs for tribal members. The deal is part of the growing land-back movement to return land to Indigenous peoples and reflects increasing recognition of their ecological knowledge as vital to combating climate change. Over the past decade, around 12,000 square kilometres of land has been returned to tribes across 15 states as part of a federal programme.
Bosnian Serb leader Milorad Dodik has not appealed his verdict and will not attend a state-level court session next Thursday. He had been sentenced to a year imprisonment for undermining the authority of the Bosnian Constitutional Court on their jurisdiction of the Republika Srpska. It's the latest development in a prolonged political crisis in the Western Balkan country.
Šta vi radite ako se dogodi, pričamo oba scenarija, ako se potvrdi odluka ili se poništi?
Slušajte, što se mene tiče, ja nju ne prihvatam i ona je za mene ništavna. Ja ću se ponašati shodno okolnostima koje su, shodno nekoj od tih odluka. Dakle, ja želim da uspostavimo komunikaciju i mir i održavam mir. Znate, prije godinu dana glavni ratnohuškaš po njima je bio Milorad Dodik, pa se ništa nije desilo.
Bosnia's political crisis reached its peak in late February when the Constitutional Court convicted Dodik of going against the decisions of the country's international peace envoy. The verdict is not final, and Dodik had the right to appeal it.
North Korea has once again affirmed its unconditional support for Russia's invasion of Ukraine. The comments were made by North Korean leader Kim Jong-un during a meeting with top Russian officials in Pyongyang on Wednesday, according to North Korea's state-run news agency. The two countries' ties have strengthened in recent years, with Pyongyang sending thousands of troops to Russia to help with its war against Ukraine. During the meeting, the two countries discussed the prospect of rebuilding areas in Russia's Kursk region, according to Russia's state news agency.
According to intel from the EU's border agency, irregular crossings have decreased this year by 27%. Frontex say their 3,300 officers manning the EU's external entries are to thank for this drop. Watching it all from his office in Vienna is Michael Spindeliger, Director General of ICMPD, an organisation that plays a role in shaping migration policy in Europe.
Now it's going down, but you don't know how long this is staying with these lower numbers. Still, if you have a look to the numbers of asylum seekers in Europe, it is very high. So also last year, we had nearly 1 million asylum applications in Europe. This is a very high number. And so I think it is not a situation where we can calm down. It is a situation where we have to look exactly what kind of measures have to be done for the future.
But what about Italy and Denmark, I ask? The two migration hawks have written to the European Court of Human Rights asking for, quote, more room to crack down on migration. Michael Spindeliger admits there are some, quote, legal issues, but calls their measures innovative.
I think everybody is invited to look to, as they call it, intelligent, modern ways to deal with the migration issues. And this model, especially from Italy, to deal with migration procedures in Albania is interesting because this is a new way.
For their part, the European Court of Human Rights in Strasbourg has written their own letter saying that debate is healthy, but politicising the court is not. Interior ministers from all across the bloc will be gathering in Luxembourg next week to discuss migration. Maeve McMahon, Euronews, Brussels.